welcome back everyone. My name's Tyler Boronski. You're watching my YouTube channel where I interview professional athletes and celebrities. Today I'm joined by Dustin Antolin, former Major League pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays and currently with Chicago White Sox. So Dustin, thanks for taking a few minutes.
Hey, no problem, man.
Now this has been a busy offseason for you. You're playing winter ball a lot in Venezuela and Dominican Republic. 3 teams in 1 month for you. It's kind of crazy. And then in November, you signed on with the Chicago White Sox to join up with them. So tell me how you feel as you're about to head to spring training, what your confidence is like that you can stick with this ball club and hopefully get back to the big leagues with them this year.
Confidence is there. I mean, it's just like any other year, fighting for a job. That's nothing new. So I'm excited, man. Adrenaline's going already. I only had 1 month off, but I'm getting that itch to get back on the mound. So we'll see how that goes.
This offseason, it's been tough for free agents this year, especially at the major league level. Guys are signing late. Some of them haven't even signed yet, and it's kind of trickled down with the minor league free agents as well. But you signed on really early, so were you surprised to sign as early as you did, especially coming out of IndyBall the year prior as well?
I was shocked a little bit. Yes, I was. I went to IndyBall, and that was a crazy, experience for me. First time doing that, and I didn't know what I was going to expect. And then after that, I was like, man, I don't know if I'll get a job next year. So I got to play winter ball. That's what my thinking was. So when I got a winter ball job, I just told myself, man, nothing's new. Just keep doing what you're doing. Fight for what you want, and, things will work out in the end. So, I went to winter ball. I had a great season. I just kept it in the back of my head, take one day at a time, have fun, and don't worry about things to come. You just do what you got to do right now in the moment, So that's basically what I did. And when they called me, I was really shocked and I was surprised. So I called my agent. I was like, hey, the White Sox called me. And right then and there, we got to an agreement and I signed right away because I knew it was a hard time for free agents this year. Like you said, big leaguers not getting signed, and it trickles down to the minor leagues. So it was crazy, but that's out of my hands. I can't do nothing about that. So all I could have done was just play as hard as I could, work hard for my family, and that's basically what I did. So
hey, hard work paid off, man. And I know everyone in IndyBall, everyone's always trying to get back to affiliate ball, and you actually got the opportunity. So it's really awesome to hear that White Sox are giving you that chance. And like we mentioned, you did play in IndyBall last year with the Somerset Patriots in the Atlantic League. You talked about how you didn't know what to expect going into IndyBall and joining that ball club. Tell me your thoughts on the competition and your experience playing in that league. Was it IndyBall a little better than you expected, or just in line with what your thought process was? Tell me your thoughts on the competition in the Atlantic League.
This was the second time they called me because 2 years before, John Hutton called me. He's like, hey, do you want to play independent ball? And I was like, oh, man, I'm not ready to do that. I still believe, I can play affiliated ball, but I wasn't getting no job opportunities. And, 2 weeks before minor league spring training started, the Blue Jays called me back, so that was out of the way. But back to independent ball, the talent I thought was going to be bad, honestly. I thought it was just going to be like backyard baseball. I didn't know anything about independent ball. I've never heard of it until Big John called me, John Hutton, and I was just like, man, I don't know. But then my wife was like, it's still a job. You're getting paid. Go, you never know what's going to happen. So I was like, all right, let's go. Let's do this. I went to IndyBall, and I tell you what, man, I fell in love with the game again. I probably had the best time in baseball when I played IndyBall. The guys, just being around them, it was awesome, and I loved it.
All right, I gotta ask you about the Major League appearance, because obviously you did make the Major Leagues in 2016. You were in the middle of your 9th minor league season before they gave you that call-up. It's currently your sole appearance in the major leagues right now. Hopefully that changes this year with the White Sox. But can you give me like the play-by-play? How were you told you're getting called up to the major leagues, and what do you remember from pitching in the actual game against the Rays?
That year I started off really hot. I had a good start of the season. And I remember that day I came in for a save. I had a rough save that day. I walked two guys, one hit, so bases was loaded, got one out. I got the next two outs, got the save. And I remember I was like, man, that was a tough save. So I went out, me and my catcher that night, we went out to go eat, just talk about what happened. I would say about 2 hours later, my head coach called me, Gary Allenson, and he was like, hey, I got some news for you. And honestly, I thought I was getting released. I was like, oh no, here we go. But he was like, hey, you're going up to the big leagues. And I was like, oh, no kidding, that's crazy. At first, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't comprehend in my head that I got called up to the big leagues until I got off the phone and I just sat down for a minute and I really thought about it. I was like, man, I made it to the big leagues. So then I called my wife and my family. Man, I didn't sleep at all that night. So next morning I went. I had a 5 o'clock flight, so I had to leave to the airport at 4 in the morning. So I fell asleep around 3. I got probably an hour of sleep. The outing, that was crazy. Honestly, I don't remember much from it because everything was going so fast. I was just starstruck, basically. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I was fine. I was perfectly fine. I started warming up when they called me, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be okay. Don't worry about it. Then I went out. They called me out. I went out to the mound, and I was doing my 8 warm-up pitches like they give you. And right before the first batter came into the box, I looked into the stands, and that's when I got really nervous. My legs started shaking, and I just couldn't stop shaking. And that's when it hit me, man. It was just like, oh, this is surreal. This is crazy.
But you lived out your dream, man, and no one can ever take that away from you. You're always going to be a Major League Baseball player now, so it's fantastic, man. All right, Dustin, last question for you. I did mention you were in the middle of your 9th minor league season when they gave you that call-up. I mean, threw Tommy John in the middle of your minor league career as well. What led you to never quit? What made you never be like, man, like, forget this, I'm going to do something else? Like, what kept you going?
Honestly, my family kept me in the game, They had my back. My support system was great, going through Tommy John was a tough one, but coming back from the surgery and trying to find the consistency and all that, that was the toughest part, and I would get frustrated. And there was points where I wanted to quit, but my dad and my mom, they would just say, all you gotta do is keep throwing. I had my daughter and my wife, and they were my backbone, man. They just kept me in the game. They was like, hey, especially when I didn't have a job with the Blue Jays until like 2 weeks before spring, like I said earlier. At that point, I was talking to her about just hanging it up, man. I was like, the year I made the big leagues, right that year before, I was like, honey, I think I'm gonna retire, and get a new job, work construction or something. Because that off season, I worked a few jobs that off season. I didn't play winter ball, so I had to keep a roof over my family's head, and I was just like so overwhelmed with all not getting a job, waiting around, just hearing crickets. I'm just like, oh, this is terrible, and I felt kind of down. I took a minute, and if I do quit or retire, I'm gonna regret it for the rest of my life, because not too many people get to play the game. My wife just told me, hey, just go back one more year. Who knows? And believe it or not, I made the big leagues, man. It was crazy. All I tell myself is I just got to keep playing, throw the ball. If I do that, then I'll have fun, That's basically who kept me in the game was my family.
Yeah. Keep the faith, bro. Keep the faith. I like that.
For sure.
All right, Dustin. Last thing, if you have any social media plugs you want to put out there, if you want fans to follow you on Twitter, just you could put the handle out there.
I honestly don't know my Twitter name, or all I know is Dustin Antolin. Just look me up. I'll be there. Instagram, Twitter.
We'll put the handle on the screen so fans can look that. And then fans, you can follow this YouTube channel at TBLs512, same name on Facebook, and then at Ty Boronski10 on Instagram and Twitter. It's also on the screen right now. So Dustin, thanks for taking the time to speak to me, and then good luck with the White Sox in spring this year.
All right, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on your channel, man.